Welcome to the Stronger Than Autoimmune podcast. If you're living with an autoimmune condition, then you've come to the right place. I am part of your tribe. I'm right there with you. I know firsthand what it's like to navigate the ups and downs of a chronic illness. That's why I created this podcast, to be a source of hope and connection. In each episode, we'll dive into stories from fellow autoimmune warriors, along with experts and businesses who are passionate about empowering our community. Whether it's lifestyle hacks, expert advice, or just a reminder that you're not alone, this is your go to space for inspiration and support. As a health coach, I know small, everyday changes stack up and make a big impact. So let's get stronger together because we are stronger than autoimmune. And today I have a wonderful guest for you. Today we have an inspiring guest, Risa Groux, a functional nutritionist and certified autoimmune coach from Newport Beach, California. Her passion started early, from making her own baby food to now helping people heal from the inside out. She even helped professional athletes and contestants from The Biggest Loser. Risa's approach is rooted in addressing the core of health issues through whole foods, decreasing inflammation, and optimizing health with the gut. Her philosophy? Weight loss is a side effect of wellness. Today, we'll share her insights into functional medicine and how we can get to the root cause of our health challenges and the real solutions that lead to lifelong change. So let's get ready for a fun conversation. How did you adapt your functional nutrition approach to meet all these different groups of people?
So functional nutrition is based on 4 major pillars, all of which I work with in my office. So I approach pretty much everyone with the same goals, right? Every person is different. Every situation is different. Their genetics are different. So I take, it's not one size fits all, but it's all based on 4 pillars. One of which is we're looking for root causes, right? Why is it that I'm having chronic fatigue or headaches or skin issues or muscle pain or whatever it is? We're always looking for root causes. And the second thing is we're always looking for prevention. So in our paradigm for conventional medicine, we don't treat you until you're already in full-blown disease state. All right. Our reference ranges are really wide, and we just don't help you until you're in disease state.
Yeah, I hate that.
Right. I mean, it's really backwards, right? It shouldn't be that way, right? It's crisis management. We should be in doing prevention. So functional nutrition absolutely does prevention. So our reference ranges are a little bit narrow, but we are waiting. We're not waiting until you're in full blown disease like diabetes. We're looking at insulin resistance, which leads to diabetes. So that's the second pillar. The third pillar is that we consider the whole body one interconnected unit. So maybe your rashes have something to do with your liver, or maybe it has something to do with your thyroid, or, all body parts work together in a perfect symphony. And so when something's off, we're considering the whole body and all of its systems that are interconnected. And the fourth thing that we look at is data. So I'm really not good at guessing and playing darts with the lights off when I cannot see the target. I'm much better when I can see exactly where I'm going. So we order pretty comprehensive tests, at least I do. So I do blood tests. I'm going to look at all your inflammation markers, which conventional medicine doesn't look. I'm going to look at all 4 markers of your blood sugar, not just your glucose, because I'm looking for insulin resistance. I'm looking at all 9 markers of your thyroid, which in conventional medicine, unfortunately, we usually get just the TSH. Occasionally we'll get a T4, and I'm really ecstatic we can get a T4 and a T3. But usually it's not all 9 markers. So I'm really looking at very comprehensive labs. I'm giving every single person I work with a stool test, which can really help find out what's going on. Do we have leaky gut? How do we do with gluten? How much inflammation do we have? Are we having a hard time digesting our fats? Do we have an overgrowth of bad guys, or do we have not enough good guys? So it really gives us a good idea. And then I know exactly what's going on, and I can figure out where we're going from there.
And so it's not just one area you're looking at. I mean, that I think that's the other problem with healthcare is you go to your primary doctor and you've got stomach issues or you have a thyroid problem. And so they send you to another doctor. And I've gone to rheumatologists, I've gone to endocrinologists, and they're like, okay, you're in that gray area. We can't really pinpoint anything just right now. And it seems like you're taking all that information and you're digging in because you know there's a reason you're in that gray area. You're not in that it's more not really black and white, but you're digging in to find out what is going on with the body.
Correct, because there's always a contributing factor. How did we get here? Is it leaky gut? Is it genetics? Is it an overgrowth of the bad guys? Do we have a virus? What is causing that autoimmunity? I'm going to find it. I'm working with somebody right now who has Sjogren's disease, and she came to see me. Are you a Sjogren's girl?
I'm a
Awesome.
shogi.
Yeah, yeah, I know it. I know it well. So she's a great example. I have so many stories, but this is one that I'm working with now. I just had my last appointment with her was last week, and she's doing incredibly amazing. I mean, she was major body pain from start to finish all day, every day, no energy, just major, major, major pain, could not function, blisters all over her hands. And we found when we did her stool test a really high level of Roseburia, which is a pathogen in the gut, super high levels. So we've started to treat her with natural supplementations, natural, what I call natural antibiotics,
Hmm.
wormwood and oregano oil and all these things that will kill an overgrowth. And when I spoke to her last week, not only is all of her muscle pain gone, all of her blisters on her hands, she thinks I'm a magician, right? And so it's all gone. But she shared with me that she sings in the choir at church on Sundays, and it was the first time in years that she was able to salivate. She said usually when she gets nervous, she would over salivate, and she hasn't been able to do that for years since she was diagnosed, and now she is over salivating and she's so excited, to have that ability, right? So we tested yet for Sjogren's, but I can't wait because watching people heal is just the most phenomenal experience.
That's awesome. And it's so funny. I mean, to anybody who doesn't have Sjogren's or have an autoimmune disease, um, you wouldn't be excited about over salivating.
Crying. A lot of people
Hmm.
can't cry. I worked with a woman years ago, and she called me and she said, I've never been able to cry since my husband died in 2 years. And she finally had a good cry, and she put tears and everything. She was so excited. So,
Wow.
yeah.
And as far as I know, you've come into everybody comes into functional nutrition or their career for a reason. And I know you made your own baby food. So how did you really get into being you to a functional nutritionist and autoimmune coach?
Yes, I've always been interested in health. I mean, just it's always had been an interest for me, and nutrition, I think, because I came from a home where food was like we had this bad relationship with food. My mom was constantly trying to lose 5 or 10 pounds, constantly. She was always on a diet, and then she would go off the diet, and these foods were good and these foods were bad. And I was very confused because I always thought the bad foods tasted so good to me. I couldn't understand why we're restricting and deprivation, and it was craziness. So, of course, when I got to high school, I started doing every diet there was. I was trying to lose 3 pounds, and it was just this bad relationship with food. And I was always fascinated by it. Why does this make us feel good? Why does this make us gain weight? Why does this make us lose weight? It was just fascinating to me. It still is. And it was a lot of mystery around it. So I was always reading about it. And I got pregnant with my first child, my daughter, right on our honeymoon. It was like no effort at all. And then when we were trying to conceive our second, I just couldn't get pregnant, or if I did, I couldn't keep it. And it was super
Mm.
frustrating. I really had a lot of compassion for and empathy for all the women who have gone through infertility. And I finally acquiesced and went to a fertility specialist, and he basically did some tests on me and slid the prescription next, across the desk and said, "Here, you got to take this. Your thyroid is an underachiever, basically." And I was like, "Well, how long do I take this for?" And he said, "Well, for every day." And I said, "Well, no, for like how long?" And he goes, "Oh, forever."
Mhm.
And when I walked out of that office, it was an aha moment for me because I had two burning questions. One was, why is my thyroid not working? I was born to have a thyroid that functions, and why is it not functioning? And the second question was, why is he not even concerned that my thyroid's not functioning? Why is it okay to just give me a synthetic medication to mimic what I should be making? Right? Why are we not fixing this problem? So that really started me on my course. And then I found out I had this gene mutation called MTHFR, which is very, very common. It's a root cause of autoimmunity. If you're not taking the proper B vitamins, you cannot methylate your B or your B12 and or your folate, your B9. So when I started taking the proper B vitamin, I ended up getting pregnant, had an easy pregnancy. No issues there. My son was born. Several years later, I went to a naturopathic doctor and I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's. And that's when I was like, hold the phone. Like, this train is off the track. We got to get it back on the track. Why is this happening? And so that's really where I started. And I was in the process of going back to school to get my certification in clinical nutrition. And then I started my practice and found functional medicine really quickly. And I just started learning how to read labs and looking at root causes. And I fortunately was able to reverse my Hashimoto's myself. So it took a long time, took a lot of tears, a lot of money. So I save people that effort now because it's just a devastating experience to have. And we know so much more now. And that's why I did my class, Achieving Optimal Thyroid Health, on my website for people who need to know what to look for. What are the root causes? What should we eat? What should we not eat? What supplements to take? What should we not take for any given thyroid situation, whether you're hypo, hyper, autoimmune, or thyroidectomy. So it's really, really helpful.
That's wonderful. To hear that you have such success yourself, from going from miscarriages to having no trouble, and then all of a sudden you get Hashimoto's and then you are doing better. So you've had your ups and downs, and you know how it is to have good days, bad days, and continue on. And I wouldn't have ever guessed. I mean, well, obviously you probably reversed your Hashimoto's. I mean, your hair is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh,
You
thank you.
can't have hair like that with Hashimoto's. And you mentioned you've gone through, I think that's the issue with, I don't know, I wouldn't say a lot of people now, but well, I guess media, that you're supposed to look a certain way. And you went through your diets when you were younger, and people are always trying to lose weight. And you have a saying of, you'll lose weight because you're healthy, or how is it saying?
Weight loss is
It's a
side
side
effect
effect.
of wellness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we focus on wellness. Everybody loses weight that needs to lose weight, but it's not my focus. You can go to a diet center if that's just your focus, but I'm looking at root causes. So when usually there's 5 reasons why we don't lose weight, right? Or why we easily gain weight. One is thyroid dysregulation. Two is blood sugar dysregulation. Three is cortisol. That's our stress hormone. If we have it high or low, it's very difficult to lose weight and very easy to gain weight. Sex hormone dysregulation. If your sex hormones are out of balance, very difficult to gain, very difficult to lose weight, easy to gain. And a buildup of toxins. Toxins live in our fat cells and our fat tissue. So it's when you do my detox, everybody loses weight. But again, it's not a weight loss program. It's a wellness program because we've got to get the toxins out of the fat cells. And the other major reason why we can't lose weight is because there's basically a fire in the basement, right? We have massive inflammation, systemic inflammation in the body. And when we're in the state of emergency, we hold on to all of our resources, right? We don't know when we're going to need them. So we hold on to them. And so autoimmunity is is a fire in the basement. That's what it is, right? We typically go to a conventional doctor and they give us a little squirt gun. Let's here, take this pill, see what happens. And if that doesn't work, then we'll give you another pill, right? But what, I just talked to somebody new yesterday and, I said, did your doctor tell you to do anything with your diet, to change anything with your lifestyle? No, there's just some medication for that. And it's not, we were not born with a deficiency in a particular medication. And that's why we have autoimmune disease, right? There is a fire in the basement. So you have to put that fire out. And once you do that, then you naturally will start losing weight.
Yeah. And it's sad that we look to losing weight so much rather than actually being healthy. As far as it seems like America is gone through, and there's always the next diet, carnivore diet, keto diet, paleo diet, autoimmune elimination diet. What are the biggest myths around diet and nutrition that you have to dispel all the time?
I would absolutely say that not one size fits all. So that's why I wrote my book, Food Frame. And that's why I created my philosophy, Food Frame. It's my methodology because when I first started my practice decades ago, I would put pretty much everybody on the same anti inflammatory diet, eating lifestyle. And some people would thrive, like lots of them, and then some people wouldn't. And I'm going, what is the deal, right? I would do a food allergy test. Oh, you're allergic to all these foods because it was good data, right? And then I was like, this is not working. So what I realized is that everybody should be eating according to their current health status because that's a customized eating program for that particular person at that particular time. So if you're in the state of autoimmunity and you come into my office and you've got raging antibodies, I am absolutely going to put you on the AIP protocol, right? The autoimmune protocol. And that is a 30 to 90-day protocol. I will tell you that I've seen nothing but great success on that. So I encourage everybody to go 90 days. So after that 90 days, then in my book, I talk about, it says diet is a 4-letter word. That's my subtitle, but I highlight 6 major diet types or eating lifestyles, I call them, because we've ruined the word diet. It only means deprivation and starvation. And so that's not what diet, the actual definition is, but eating lifestyles, there's 6 major eating lifestyles that I use with everybody I work with. Typically, there's occasionally I'll go outside of those if I need to, if depending on that person's health status, but typically it's one of 6. And so that is really, you can take the food frame quiz on my website to find out which food frame is best for you. But I cover AIP, low lectin, paleo, keto, vegetarian, and what am I missing? Low lectin, keto, paleo, vegetarian, autoimmune, low FODMAP.
Okay.
Yeah, so low FODMAP is another one. So like if you have SIBO, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, or you have IBS or IBD, or you have chronic bloating, constipation, diarrhea, you're going to go on the low FODMAP. That's what I'm going to recommend. Again, that's another 30 to 90-day protocol. And then we would change that after we've solved that situation and you have a different health status.
What diet do you follow now? I mean, because you're
Yes.
you do a lot for others, so I'm wondering, what do you do for yourself?
Yeah, so currently I'm doing paleo. I've been doing paleo for a very long time. I did do autoimmune protocol when I was first at this, and I did 90 days, and it absolutely quelled my antibody production while I was finding my root causes and treating those. And of course, I had every single one of my root causes that I found to be a root cause of autoimmunity. And then I have done low FODMAP in the past when I had SIBO, but have not been able to do that. I don't need to do that because I have really taken care of SIBO, and it was kind of a one and done, which is very recurring. So I was very fortunate. But I eat pretty clean. I mean, I eat very, very clean, but I follow paleo currently.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I heard the FODMAP diet is pretty intense. I mean,
Mhm.
and having SIBO can eh, it's not an easy way. There's not an easy way to get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been able to figure it out. I work with a lot of SIBO people. And there's a supplement regimen to kill it. And then there's a very strict food regimen because you just don't want to feed it. You want to kill it. And so we've had a great success rate with that.
How long does it take to go through that protocol that you're talking about?
Everybody's different. So depending on what the test results are, usually I'm going to do a 6 to 8 week protocol. Pretty much depending on, well, pretty much I have two protocols that I work with. And so it depends when I get your stool test back, which one I'm doing. But usually it's a 6 to 8 week protocol.
Okay. And as you mentioned at the beginning, functional medicine gets to the root cause. Is there any way of how you explain to people? Because a lot of people don't want to get, either they want to get all the testing, this is what I noticed. They want to get all the testing done and figure it out, and they've done a lot of tests, or they don't want to do that many tests at all because they don't like needles, they don't see a point. How do you explain what these tests are doing and how they help you and them with their health?
Yeah. So I can't work with anybody who we don't have information for, right? Again, it's like playing darts with the lights off. I cannot see the target. So I'll leave guessing to the conventional medicine doctors. But what I do is, we need blood work, and I do a fairly extensive blood panel, and we just need it because I don't know. I don't know. I won't know. How do I help you if I don't know? And then the stool test is easy. There's no needles. It's not the funnest experience, but it's really, really valuable to get information. And I do that. I just did one. I test myself regularly too. So you just need to know where you are, where your current health status is, and if something has gone awry before it shows up.
How often do you test yourself?
So I am on HRT, the hormone replacement therapy. So for that, I do it pretty much every 3 to 6 months. I recommend when you are taking any kind of thyroid or hormone, any kind of hormones, you should at least 6 months. So twice a year is typically what I do. Maybe I squeeze in 3 a year, and then if you're not on hormones, I would recommend maybe 6 months to a year doing your panel.
And like you mentioned, it's really doing the AIP, starting off with AIP and then changing your diet depending on what you have or what your stool tests say when you have autoimmune disease.
Yeah, I mean, the information we have is we know that gluten is not helping autoimmunity. So
Yeah.
I would absolutely take that off the table immediately, right? The second thing is dairy. Dairy is not going to help autoimmunity either. So I take that off the table. And then, of course, we have soy, which doesn't really help, corn, and eggs. Those are the high potential allergen foods. And then, of course, nightshades. Nightshades are not really helping. And then things like sugar and alcohol, those are just really good fuel for the fire. So if you're trying to reverse it, I really wouldn't recommend that until you get the fire out.
Okay. And what if somebody is so hesitant to give up one of those? What what do you do? Or how do you work with them to where they get some relief and feel some results without completely taking everything away?
Yeah, so I have a saying in my office, you get what you get when you do what you do, and that goes both ways, right? If you're eating well and you're moving your body and you're, taking care of yourself, you're going to get great results, right? And if you're not, then you're going to get those results. So, um I do have some people that I work with who just really have a hard time giving up certain foods, or they a certain lifestyle, or wine is a big one. So I can't give that to them. I can only give them information about what it is doing to them and what could be if they were to put it on hold. The way I see it is I'm so grateful that I can give myself this gift of health. I'm in full control of that, right? What I put in my mouth, what I put on my body, that's my full control. Not so much what I breathe when I go to places, or but what restaurants I pick or what food I decide to buy, I'm in full control of that. So I don't see it as you can't have, when years ago, I remember going to a party and somebody said to me, "Oh, I know you can't eat this." And I said, "No, I can eat whatever I want. I'm choosing not to eat that because that's not going to make me feel good tomorrow. It's not going to make me feel good at all. It's going to make me go backwards. And I don't want to do that. That was my
Yeah.
choice." So we all have control. And if you really want to change your health, you have to make some sacrifices and some commitments.
Yeah.
And it does
It's a
involve,
mindset, it sounds like.
right. I've been fortunate enough to work and have friends who are extremely successful, and they're successful in different particular things that they do, right? So some successful athletes, successful artists, successful business people, and successful in relationships. Every every one of those successes across the board, they all share two common things. One is discipline, right? Consistency, and the other is sacrifice. So all of them, any success has those two ingredients. So if you want success in anything in your life, I think that you have to have those two attributes.
That's wonderful to hear that you give them a choice and they know the information, and you're not forcing them, but at the same time, it how successful or how do you really want to feel?
Right.
And there's many quick fix solutions nowadays. How do
Mhm.
you keep your clients motivated and continue to push forward even though they're not seeing results immediately, especially people that have autoimmune disease? It may take them a little bit longer.
Yeah, I just share with them what can be. We look at, the data, and that's very helpful. And it's really the symptoms. When people's, they start to feel better, they are super motivated, and sometimes it takes a while until we figure out what it is. I worked with somebody who came into my office with severe fatigue, young gal, 28 years old, and we did the stool test. We found a little bit of overgrowth, and then I didn't see really much else in the blood work. A little bit, she had a lot of gut issues, and then I ordered Epstein-Barr virus. She had a positive Epstein-Barr virus, and then she wasn't really getting that much better. Her stomach had cleared up completely, but her fatigue was still there. So we ordered a mold test, and she was riddled with mold, riddled.
Oh, wow.
And so she moved out of her home that she was renting, and it was just, they opened up the walls and it was just mold everywhere. So we were able to find that root cause. It took a while. She was very encouraged. She was also discouraged at times, and I just kept saying, "Well, we're going to keep finding it." There are some practitioners who will order a boatload of tests when you walk in. I don't do that. I think it's expensive. I think it's too much information. I would rather go and do the two major ones, and then if needed, then we can go down the road to see if there's heavy metals or mold or something else that's happening. But typically, I just order those two panels. But with her, it was a little bit of a longer road, but she hung in there, and she started to feel better. I mean, she started to lose weight, and she had completely cleared up her stomach issues, which were pretty dire when she came in. But then the fatigue, I was like, "What is the fatigue? What is it?" And finally, we found what it was.
Wow. That's a huge success story. And it seems like both of you didn't give up because, I mean, it could be
Right.
hard for you to say, okay, well, I don't know what else to do. I can't work with you, but you kept on digging deeper, and she kept on, because that fatigue can be, as
Oh,
you know, Hashimoto's, it could be, I mean, she didn't have Hashimoto's, but Hashimoto's can be very difficult fatigue to deal with.
oh, it's
So,
terrible. Yeah, it can be for sure. So yeah.
and as far as nutrition and autoimmune disease, do you have any myths you want to debunk with those two? So, I mean, you hear so many different things, and sometimes you don't know what to believe. But as an expert in the field, what would you like to share and tell others?
I would really like people to be encouraged. Not every single autoimmune disease can be reversed. It's just you're not going to reverse Parkinson's. You're not going to reverse MS. There's certain things you're just not going to reverse, but some of them can be reversed for sure. And especially if you see it early, it can be reversed. I think, but some of them. And I mean, that's what I've seen. And the other thing I would say is that it's just not a deficiency in medication. I think that we often trust our doctors, and I don't want to speak pejoratively, or our doctors, it's what they've learned in medical school, that there's a medication for every issue. And it's the pill for an ill paradigm just doesn't work for me, right? And so I think that I think that people need to know that you can take control of your autoimmunity, because if you don't, you're just going to start collecting more autoimmune diseases. So you've got to find out where's the broken link here and fix it the best you possibly can. And we could do that naturally. And I'm not saying don't take medication. It's an individual decision. But like that woman that I talked about at the beginning, she didn't take the medication that the doctor gave her. And when she went back for her visit, the doctor walked in and said, "How you doing on this XYZ medication?" And she says, "I don't know." And he said, "What do you mean you don't know?" And she goes, "I've never taken it." She said, "All my symptoms are gone." And he learned something, right? He learned that you can do this naturally with food and look for the root cause. And conventional medicine just doesn't look for the root cause. So I think it's really important, at least it was for me. I'm like, this train is off the tracks. I got to figure out what is going on, because I'm not going down that road. And I was young and I had two kids, little kids. And I'm like, I've got to get this figured out. Right. So
Yeah.
it took me a long time, but I did. I went one by one and I figured it out. And just recently I did another mercury, a heavy metals test, and my mercury is back up. So I'm
Mm.
going to chelate again, because I know that if my mercury, I can see it in my blood work. I can see my cholesterol starting to go up. And so I know that it is absolutely from those heavy metals.
Mm. It's amazing. Sometimes they say you can't be your own doctor, but why not? I mean, you've done well for yourself and keeping things at bay. So, um, what is it that you want to share? You have a lot of new things coming up into your pipeline and on your website. Like you can see what food or meals work best for you, or meal plan. Other than that, what do you want to share so people can drive to your website and get help?
Yeah, so my website is my course, Achieving Optimal Thyroid Health. It's also my book, Food Frame, Diet is a Four-Letter Word. In addition, I have all my the Food Frame quiz that you can take and find out which is your food frame. And then, of course, my detox is on there, RGN Detox. I'm happy to offer your listeners 10% off the detox. And it's a 2-week program. It's really, really, really good. I've done every detox out there, and this is my second rendition, and so this one's the perfect one, and it's awesome. It is 2 shakes a day with collagen protein, which I'm a big fan of, especially for autoimmunity. It helps with leaky gut, and I'm all about protein, fat, and fiber at every meal, and then 2 shakes a day with protein, fat, and fiber, and then you can eat. It's not starvation, it's not deprivation, you're just not that hungry, but if you are hungry, then eat, and you're going to eat protein, fat, and fiber, and it will make you feel so much better. I start everybody off with that, and usually their symptoms subside, if not go away completely. So everybody is different. Of course, you might lose 3 symptoms, but 1 remains, or whatever it is. But it helps me because I can tell it's decreasing your systemic inflammation and increasing your good gut health, which are the 2 foundational things that I look for optimal health. And so it's really, really helpful. So that detox is on there, plus all my supplements, which are all good quality, third-party tested, no gluten, no dairy, no sugar, no soy, no crap, no inflammatory oils, which is what
That's
I
awesome.
find in a lot of supplements now, and no dyes or coloring, which is insanity to me. Yeah, so and lots of information, tons of testimonials and articles, and all those things that would help somebody get information.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And now we're off to just 4 questions, but this is for my special listeners. And these questions are based on more cooking and gut health. So gut health is like one of your specialties. It's your part of your big practice. What are some changes somebody with autoimmune disease can start doing? I know you mentioned the autoimmune protocol, but anything else that you feel that they can do a little bit every day that can help them?
Yeah, I mean, take out gluten, dairy, sugar, and soy. That's for sure. The four things I would remove. Alcohol too, and corn. So maybe that's six. But anyway, take out those things. Um, and then as far as the other things they can do, I was working out really hard in those days, doing a lot of cardio. It wasn't really good for my thyroid. And most autoimmunity, you need a little bit more low impact. So I do a lot more weights now and yoga, things like that. I still do cardio, but not as much and as often. Instead of 5 days a week, I'll do it maybe 3 days a week. And I don't do it for 45 minutes or an hour. I do it for 30. And then I'm all about, take out nightshades as well. That's really high in lectins. That's going to cause some inflammation. And then the other thing I would say is unplug, meditate, breathe. Um, Lifestyle is super, super important. The go pedal is not really helpful for anybody with autoimmune. So it's not that we can't be on the go pedal at all, but not all the time. And put your feet in the sand and the ground and the grass, something like that, and unplug off that phone, laugh and have fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I just did some earthing or grounding today. Um, you awesome one you sorry you know systemic sorry brain inflammation is a huge problem with autoimmune. What are some things that are adding to this inflammation that we do every day that we should look out for?
So bread, sugar, dairy, and alcohol, those are major inflammatory foods. Toxins, any kind of plug-ins or Febreze or scented candles, or you got to watch your shampoos, your conditioners, your cleaning supplies. All of those should be fragrance free and as clean as possible. So I look to the Environmental Working Group, EWG, to look at all my beauty, my home supplies, all those things, and really decrease that. We're in a really tough time in life, although I'm very, very encouraged just recently because we're starting to talk to the government about what is being approved. And currently, the FDA approved 86,000 chemicals for us to use, more than any other country on this planet. And so we have
Wow.
to be really diligent about what's going into the body. Preservatives, additives. We are at, I think it's 4 billion additives. It's like 22 pounds of additives and preservatives per person currently, which I'm not having any of that. And I can tell you somebody's having my portion. So we're at an all-time high of sugar and toxins and chemicals. We're feeding our kids horribly, and we're seeing a total rise in infertility. So the other thing I would say for people is cook. Do
Mm.
not go out so much. It's crazy how much money we spend in a restaurant or at a coffee shop or at a juice place or whatever it is that you're going. Cook. Take real food and put it in real pans and feed yourself real food. It's so much better. And I'd rather pay the farmer now and not the doctor later, right? Um, so it's really important to cook. And I find so many people don't cook. And it doesn't mean that you have to be Julia Childs and be in there for hours and making sauces. I cook pretty much every day and I make it easy. I have tons of easy recipes on my website because I don't have that much time. I do a lot of work but I do always I prepped yesterday my big salad and I cut up all my veggies so that when I am on the go and I my hard boiled eggs, I always have protein, fat, and fiber for me accessible. So cooking is a really, really important thing that I think we're losing and we need to get it back.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so funny. We started getting more sick the less we started to cook.
Correct.
And thank you for, I was just about to ask, what is a go to recipe that is the shortest amount of time that you've could think of?
I cook all the time, but I would say chop up some, bok choy or cabbage and, some mushrooms and onions and everything you have in your refrigerator, broccoli or kale or whatever it is, throw it in a pan. I do a ginger sesame dressing that is delicious. It's super
Mm.
easy. I put it on everything. It makes everything good. I'll do that in a stir fry. I'll do that with cauliflower rice or miracle noodles, ham noodles, and that's easy. And then I throw some protein in there, scallops or chicken or shrimp or something like that. I do that a lot. I make zucchini pasta all the time with turkey meatballs. That's one of my favorites. And I can do that with pesto, which I usually have in my refrigerator. So I put that on everything too. Or I do it with a marinara sauce. Not so much for anybody autoimmune in
Yeah.
flare up because we don't want the tomatoes, but the pesto would be a great alternative. I have a whole section on my website for AIP because that's one of the food frames. So they're easy, good recipes. I've got cookies on there and good stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's super easy, not much more than like 6 or 8 ingredients tops, and make it easy and make it delicious.
That's wonderful. Yeah, because Halloween's coming up and I need something sweet. um, for the healing power of foods, and somebody that's starting, they have autoimmune, they don't really, they want to feel like they're not deprived. What what do you want to say to them?
There's plenty of food to eat. It might take a little effort to make it, but there's plenty of food to eat. So, some of those things I mentioned, I mean, I make soup a lot. That's a really good thing to eat, but you can eat animal protein. There's plenty of food to eat. So, do a little bit of work as far as research is concerned of what you can eat, make big batches and eat. You'll feel so good when you eat well.
Yeah. And thank you so much. Is there anything that I have not asked you that you would like to add in?
I don't think so, except for how to locate me is Risa Groux Nutrition. Yeah,
Yes.
my website, RISA, Groux, GROUX, Nutrition. My office is in Newport Beach, California, but I work pretty much with everybody all over the country. And we are still taking in new clients. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
And
me.
yeah, it was